want to follow up on a story that we broke last week. It gets very spicy. Love it. I still hate it, but it's a weird one because I'm kind of torn on how I feel about it. But there is an elementary school teacher in Shelton, Washington. We had this picture on the show last week where she said that she was forced to put tape over the name Charlie Kirk on a shirt that she was wearing. So she wore it for Veterans Day. It says freedom on it. Of course, Charlie Kirk, when he was assassinated, he had a freedom shirt on. And so this one was sold after his assassination. It says the name Charlie Kirk on it. Now, at the time, the teacher didn't want her name out there because she was worried about retribution, but she really wanted to speak up and say, look, like at a time when they're allowing, the BLM stuff and the radical gender ideology and the trans pride flags. She says, I was forced to cover up Charlie Kirk's name because a couple teachers complained that it offended them and it made them uncomfortable. And then she was given this list of rules about political attire, essentially. So they said, your shirt is political in nature. So she didn't want to use her name, but now she does. She's ready to fight for herself, to push back against this. So her name is Trish McCoy. She's a second grade teacher in the Shelton School District. And actually, our friend, Jonathan Cho, bless him, he did a great follow-up on this at Mountain View Elementary. And he actually went out to Shelton to meet with Trish McCoy and to try to confront school officials.
So she was okay with the word freedom and the American flag, but
Yes.
the problem was Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk.
McCoy says the principal asked her to remove the shirt, claiming it violated school guidelines for clothing because it could be interpreted as a political statement.
And I grabbed some tape and I said, I'll just put tape over his name.
No harm, no foul.
And she kind of nodded, okay.
I reached out to Mountain View Elementary Principal Lysandra Ness and District Superintendent Wyeth Jesse, asking if other teachers have been asked to cover up words or symbols on T-shirts that could be interpreted as political.
She's with another teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
But none of them returned our request for comment. They just posted the statement on social media that reads in part, the district respects employees' First Amendment rights and appreciates the staff members' cooperation. We are reminding staff about state laws and district expectations regarding political expression and trust our employees to follow school board policies that uphold these commitments.
So you believe other teachers want to speak out in support of you, but are afraid to do so?
I think there are some.
Yeah, so other teachers might be afraid to speak out in support of her, but parents sure as hell aren't. So after this story came out, and we did it last week, there was a school board meeting. And I just love this. So there were parents who showed up to speak out against what happened to this teacher, Trish McCoy. Here's one dad.
I saw something that really bothered me today, that apparently a teacher wore a shirt to school, a Charlie Kirk shirt, and apparently was told that it offended people and was made to put tape over the name Charlie Kirk. And I think it is absolutely appalling that we have a school district where if people are offended, we capitulate to them to almost no end, it seems like. Instead of raising students and children and having staff that are resilient and teach our students that they will see things in the world that bother them, that they may not agree with, and having conversations. Instead, they capitulate and make this teacher cover up a name of someone whose only hope in this world was to create more dialogue between people, and was assassinated for doing just that, talking. Didn't harm people, said things that people didn't like. And I don't see how I can vote yes on a levy to give more money to people that don't seem to want to actually build resilient students.
I love that argument of building resilient students. And does he look familiar to you, by the way? So that's Donnie. He's been in studio with us before because his child is the trans athlete who played against Frances Stout. Remember this? Frances Stout and Tumwater sat out her final basketball game of the year because there was a biological boy on the other team. That biological boy is Donnie's child, rather. And so I love to see Donnie standing up for this teacher over the Charlie Kirk shirt. And here's another dad.
Going to chat about exactly the same thing. It's in a podcast labeled Unbelievable. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. Who decided that one political or ideology name must be covered up where others are allowed to remain? Who made the call? On what authority? because that's not education. That's viewpoint discrimination. In a public school, students and teachers should be encouraged to think critically and not be shielded from names or ideas that someone in the administration finds uncomfortable. Once we start censoring one side, we've abandoned fairness, open discourse, and the fundamental principles of education. The board must demand accountability. Who directed that censorship? Why was it done? And what steps will be taken to ensure that it never happens again? Our schools belong to the community and the truth, transparency, and open exchange of ideas that are not negotiable. Pretty cut and dry. But take a look. Unbelievable, Brandi, Kruse. You guys screwed up. So if that was you, Jesse, good luck.
You guys screwed up. Well, we aired it in our segment Unbelievable last week, so that's what he was referring to. But yeah, I mean, and look, I said on the show last week when we talked about it, if your rules are consistent, fine. If you've just decided nothing even remotely political, don't do it, we want to keep that, then that's fine. I mean, Shelton is a fairly, I would say, has pockets of conservatism. I don't know, on the whole, I would call it conservative. But there's plenty of indication that that's not the case. You know, we've heard from teachers in the district who've said that they've, flown trans pride flag stuff. We have to go back in time to see, but did they allow BLM stuff up in schools, for instance? And as I said, calling Charlie Kirk a political figure, what else would you have to rule out? I mean, could you have something with MLK on it? Could you have something with Supreme Court Justice on it, Ruth Bader Ginsburg or something? Who's a political figure and where do you draw the line? So my whole issue is it seems like they're very quick to try to reel in conservatives, but when it comes to anything else that the left wants to parade around in a public school environment, it's just fine. So we appreciate Trish McCoy being willing to come out, share that story, our friend Jonathan Cho going out there to do some follow-up reporting, and those awesome parents who are standing up to the school board over it.